AITA for skipping Thanksgiving because I wasn't allowed to bring store-bought food? My sister sent me a message in the family chat. Those are the rules, so I stayed home. At 8 p.m. on Thanksgiving, as I was on the couch in sweatpants finishing a bowl of reheated chili, my phone lit up with a new message from my dad. "Where's the turkey? You were supposed to bring it." I stared at the screen for a second, took a deep breath and wrote back, "I thought store-bought wasn't allowed." Then I put my phone face down and listened to the silence of my apartment instead of the chaos I knew was erupting on the other end. So Reddit, I am 36 years old and a family doctor in a mid-sized Midwestern city. I work in a large multi-clinic system attached to a hospital. I work about 60 hours a week on average, more when flu season hits and everyone in town suddenly remembers they have a doctor. I am the oldest daughter, the responsible one, and apparently the designated Thanksgiving turkey wrangler. At least according to my sister. I am telling this story now because my mother has already started hinting that she will fix things for next year, and that we will be back together as a family. I realize I am not interested in going back to the version of being together, where my time is disposable and my boundaries are optional. Day to day, my life looks pretty normal for a doctor who is not on a soap opera. My mornings start with coffee in a travel mug in my car, 20 minutes of traffic, and a waiting room full of people who did not think it was urgent until they were short of breath. I split my time between clinic visits, charting in our electronic medical records under unforgiving fluorescent lights, and being the person nurses grab when they are in the hospital and someone's blood pressure or blood sugar looks alarming. My phone constantly buzzes with portal messages. "Hey doc, is this rash normal? Can I drink with this medication? I forgot to tell you at my last appointment." And then there is my unofficial second job, being my family's personal medical hotline and life support system. My parents had me when they were very young. I am 36 and my sister Alyssa is 32. Our mother is a retired elementary school teacher. Our father worked in school district maintenance until he had a mild heart attack 5 years ago and cut back to part-time. We grew up in a small house where you could smell dinner from any room, where we ate at the table every night, and family time was not optional. Alyssa has always been the artist. She married her college boyfriend, Ryan, who works in sales for a regional beverage company, and is now a stay-at-home mom with 2 kids and an Instagram that looks like Pinterest threw up all over her life with Thanksgiving decorations. According to my parents, she is very creative, very busy with the kids, and a natural hostess. I am the one who was studious, moved away for medical school, went into massive debt, and now makes good money according to everyone who does not see my student loan statements. In short, she can handle it. She handles everything from taking my parents to procedures to picking up the entire grocery bill because you make more. That dynamic did not happen overnight. It was built over the years in thousands of small scenes. There was the time 5 years ago when Dad had his heart attack. He ignored his chest discomfort for 3 hours because he did not want to bother anyone, until Mom called me in a panic. I was at the clinic still in my white coat. I closed my laptop, told the physician assistant to move my afternoon patients, and drove too fast to get them to the emergency room. I stood by the bed translating cardiology jargon into plain English, arguing politely but firmly when a resident tried to discharge him too soon. I slept in a plastic visitor's chair that dug into my back and made me jump every time a monitor beeped. When he stabilized, Mom hugged me and said, "What would we do without you?" Then she turned to Alyssa and said, "You were such a trooper, honey, keeping the kids calm through all this." Later, when they wanted to update their wills, guess who they asked to review the paperwork? Not a lawyer, not an estate planner. Me. "Since you're a doctor, you know about this stuff." I told them I was not a lawyer and suggested they get real legal advice. They nodded, ignored me, and still sent me the drafts asking, "Does this look right to you?" I ended up spending a Saturday afternoon reading through legal jargon and making a list of things they should ask a real lawyer. They thanked me by saying, "Alyssa sat with us for hours going over our options. She really went above and beyond." Holidays have their own pattern. In theory, Alyssa loved hosting, but the execution usually fell to me. One Thanksgiving 3 years ago, I was on call until 6 a.m. for hospital admissions. I got 2 hours of sleep and then drove an hour to my parents' house with 3 pies I had paid for at a bakery because there was no universe where I could hand make anything after that night. When I walked in exhausted and smelling faintly of hospital sanitizer, Mom hugged me and said, "Thank goodness you're here. Can you run out for drinks?" Alyssa forgot the sparkling cider, and there is no ice either. I turned right around and went back out. During dinner, Mom kept telling everyone how Alyssa had put this all together, while Alyssa vaguely gestured at the table and said it was a team effort. In reality, the team consisted of me, my credit card, and a rotisserie chicken emergency from the grocery store that I handled while she arranged decorative gourds. Money also became my responsibility. When Alyssa and Ryan wanted to buy their house, my parents called me. "We are thinking of helping them with the down payment," Dad said in a casual, offhand voice. "You know how hard it is for young families these days." At the time, I was 32, living in a small apartment with secondhand furniture, working 60-plus-hour weeks, and sending a significant chunk of my paycheck into the black hole of medical school debt. But to them, Alyssa and Ryan were the young family, and I was the single one with financial security and endless resources. They did not actually ask me for money, not that time. They just asked me to look over their numbers and make sure it all makes sense. I pointed out that their retirement savings were slim. I suggested they help a little, but not so much that it endangered their own stability. Mom frowned and said, "It is different for you. You do not have a family to support." In other words, my theoretical future children did not count. Hers did. Fast forward to last fall. The Halloween decorations were barely down when the Williams family Thanksgiving 2023 group chat lit up. Yes, my parents named it. Yes, they used the turkey emoji. Mom started it off. "Hello, my loves. Let's plan Thanksgiving ahead this year so it is not all on me. I am getting too old to cook it all, you know." Lissa jumped right in. "I was thinking we would do it at Mom and Dad's again so the kids can stick to their routine. I will handle decorations and dessert. We should split up the food so it is fair." I was between patients, scrolling through this on my phone while my nurse prepped the next exam room. I typed, "Happy to help, but I am on a heavy rotation that week. 60 hours minimum. I can contribute something, but it needs to be realistic. Maybe I can pick up some side dishes from the store." Alyssa replied almost instantly. I could just picture her thumbs flying, a slight, offended frown forming. She wrote, "Actually, Ryan and I were talking and we really want to do it right this year. No store-bought food, only homemade. It just feels more special." She added, "Those are the rules," with a smiley face that was meant to soften the blow. I stared at "those are the rules," as my brain did that quiet, simmering rage thing. The nurse popped the door open for my next patient, and I put my phone away, but the words stuck with me. That night, after a 10-hour day and an hour-long commute thanks to a fender bender on the highway, I got to my dark apartment and reheated leftovers. Then I opened the chat again. "Mom, that sounds lovely, Alyssa. We can all make something from the heart." Alyssa, "I will do mashed potatoes and green bean casserole. Maybe rolls. What about you?" She tagged me. I typed, deleted, and retyped. Finally, I wrote, "I am working 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Wednesday that week, and on call Wednesday night. Realistically, I cannot make anything that requires hours in the kitchen. I am happy to pay for a high-quality turkey or sides from a catering service. They are delicious and support a local business." Alyssa, "That kind of feels like cheating. We all have busy lives. Everyone can pitch in." Ryan chimed in for once. "Just one meal hit me hard. I thought of all the justs that have been dropped on me over the years. Just pick up Mom from her appointment. Just swing by and fix Dad's computer. Just look at the kids' rash. Just call your cardiologist friend and see if he can get Dad in. Just pay for the groceries. Just drive 3 hours after an overnight shift so we can all be together. Mom, if Alyssa is doing dessert and the sides, maybe you could handle the turkey? You are so organized, you will figure it out." There it was. The main course. I wrote, "I am supposed to work 12-hour days and also cook an entire turkey from scratch? When exactly will I do that?" Alyssa came back immediately. "You can prep it the night before. People do it all the time. You are single. You do not have to deal with kids, too." It was direct, as she often was, and it hit the nail on the head of what she meant. Your time matters less because you do not have a partner or children. I stepped away from my phone, did the dishes, and took a shower that finally eased the tension in my shoulders. Then I sat on my bed in a towel and reread the whole thread from the beginning. Mom is getting too old to cook it all. Alyssa, only homemade. Those are the rules. The assumption that the already exhausted doctor can magically add several hours of cooking to a week where half the town will be sick and scrambling for last-minute appointments. Here is the thing. I love Thanksgiving. I like the food, the smells, the small rituals of carving and passing dishes. But I have started to hate who I become in that house. Tired, resentful, silently doing whatever is necessary while everyone talks over me. I realized they were not going to change anything unless I did. So I made a decision that felt momentous to me and apparently like a betrayal to everyone else. I wrote, I am going to be very clear. I cannot take on cooking a turkey from scratch this year. I am willing to bring a store-bought main dish or sides. If that is not acceptable, I will sit this year out, and we can do something another time. Then I put my phone down and went to bed. There was no reply that night. The next morning between patients I checked. 3 new messages. Mom, let's not be dramatic, dear. We just want it to be special. Alyssa, we all have to make small sacrifices for family. Mom's doing sides, I am doing dessert. You are doing the turkey. That is how it has always worked. We are not asking for the moon. Ryan, if you plan ahead, it is not a big deal. I stared at that. That is how it has always worked. Yes, that was the problem. I wrote back. I am not being dramatic. I literally do not have the hours to cook a bird from scratch that week without losing sleep I cannot afford to lose. I am offering a compromise. I will pay for a quality prepared turkey. You said no. I am telling you my limit. I will not make a homemade turkey. If that is a deal breaker, I will not be there. Alyssa left it on read. Mom sent a thumbs up emoji, which in our family is a passive-aggressive dismissal. A couple of days later, Mom called me. Why are you being so inflexible about this? She said, skipping the hello. I could hear a talk radio show muttering in the background. Your sister has been planning this for weeks. Planning what? I asked. A meal where she makes the rules and I do the heavy lifting? That is not fair, Mom said. She has the kids. You know how much work that is. We are just asking for a turkey. Mom, it is not just a turkey, I said, my voice calm. It is hours of shopping, prepping, brining, roasting, resting, and transporting. During a week when I am already responsible for the health of dozens of people. I offered to pay for a fully cooked bird from a place that probably makes it better than I do. You guys decided that does not count. You are making this all about work, she said, that familiar tone creeping in. Family should come first. I put family first when I slept in a hospital chair during Dad's heart attack, I said quietly. I put family first when I drove 3 hours on no sleep to make it to Thanksgiving after an overnight shift. Me setting a reasonable boundary does not mean I have stopped caring. It means I am human. She sighed. I just do not want them to feel abandoned. Then do not abandon them, I said. Cook a smaller turkey. Have Alyssa do it. Order a pizza. But I am not the bad guy for not doing something I literally cannot safely do. We went around in circles for a while longer until she said, well, I hope you will think about it, and hung up. I did think about it. I thought about it while I listened to wheezing lungs and heart murmurs. I thought about it as I refilled blood pressure medication for people whose stress was killing them. And I realized that if I caved again, I would be teaching my family that my boundaries are negotiable if they just make me feel guilty enough. So I held my ground. Behind the scenes, I made sure I had somewhere to go. A friend of mine, Oliver, another doctor at my practice, hosts what he calls Misfit Thanksgiving every year for coworkers who cannot travel or do not have family nearby. When I told him the situation, he just shook his head and said, dude, my cousin pulled the same thing with Christmas. You are definitely coming. Thanksgiving week hit like a truck. Monday was packed with patients trying to get in right before the holiday. Tuesday was no better. Wednesday I was on call and ended up staying late to admit an elderly man with pneumonia whose daughter kept apologizing for ruining my holiday, while I calmly told her this was literally my job. By the time I finished my shift on Thursday afternoon, I was exhausted but strangely light. I drove home through neighborhoods filled with cars parked in driveways, catching glimpses of tables and people as I passed. I microwaved my chili, changed into sweatpants and texted Oliver. I checked the family chat. Mom had sent a few cheerful messages that morning. Happy Thanksgiving, my loves. A picture of her table runner. A picture of Alyssa's kids holding construction paper turkeys. No mention of me. Nobody had asked about the turkey. Nobody had said, "So what is the plan?" They either assumed I would cave or that the universe would somehow provide a bird. At 7 p.m. my phone rang. Mom. I let it go to voicemail. I was halfway through packing up the containers I had promised to bring to Oliver's. A store-bought pumpkin pie and a bag of salad, no regrets. At 8:03 p.m., my screen lit up with Dad's text. Where's the turkey? You were supposed to bring it. I laughed. It was not a cruel laugh. It was that surprised, slightly hysterical laugh you get when people so thoroughly refuse to read reality. I texted back. I thought store-bought was not allowed. He replied almost instantly. We thought you were making it. Everyone is here waiting. The oven is ready. I wrote, I told you multiple times I would not be cooking a turkey. I offered to buy one. You refused. I made other plans. The typing bubble appeared, disappeared, reappeared. Then the call came in from Mom. Then Alyssa. Then Dad again. I turned off the ringer, slipped my phone into my jacket pocket, and went to Oliver's. There were about 10 people at his house. Nurses, a respiratory therapist, a pharmacist, and a couple of residents. The room smelled like roasted turkey and stuffing, and a football game no one was watching played in the background. Oliver's wife put a drink in my hand and said, Rules are, no talking about work for 30 minutes. After that, you can trauma dump all you want. It was not until after dessert, when the conversation had turned to ridiculous patient stories and travel disasters, that I looked at my phone again. A barrage of texts was waiting. Mom. I cannot believe you would do this to us. We have no main course. Everyone is so disappointed. Alyssa. The kids are crying because there is no turkey. Are you happy? You ruined Thanksgiving over your principles. Ryan. This is messed up. You could have at least let us know you were serious. Dad. This is not how we raised you. A couple of extended family members had chimed in with a few. What is going on? I scrolled back up in the chat, just to make sure I had not hallucinated setting my boundary. Nope, there it was multiple times. I will not make a homemade turkey. If that is a deal breaker, I will not be there. I took screenshots not to post anywhere, but just to remind myself I was not going crazy. Later that night, when I got back to my quiet apartment and its old refrigerator, I called my dad. He answered on the first ring. Not hello, but you think you made your point? I was not trying to make a point, I said. I told you what I could and could not do. You all chose to ignore it. You left us high and dry, he said. Your mother was humiliated. Alyssa worked so hard on everything else. Dad, I said calmly, what stopped Alyssa or you from buying a turkey yesterday, or this morning, or making one yourselves? Silence. After a beat, he said, we just thought you would do your usual thing. Exactly, I said. That is the problem. He sighed, the air whistling slightly between his teeth. You know your mother lives for these holidays. This is not fair to your sister. What is not fair? I interrupted gently. Expecting me to be your personal chef, chauffeur, financier, and on-call physician while treating my every no as a personal attack. I cannot do it anymore. I will not. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, Your mother cried. I am sorry she is upset, I said. I genuinely am. But her feelings do not erase the fact that you were given the information you needed, and chose not to act on it. That is on you. He did not like that. We ended the call not with a slam, but with that heavy, disappointed silence parents use when they think they are teaching you a lesson. Over the next week, the family narrative solidified into something like, she abandoned us on Thanksgiving because she thinks her job makes her more important than everyone else. I know this because Alyssa posted a vague Facebook status about some people caring more about their careers than making memories with their nieces and nephews, and my mother commented with a single sad face emoji. What they did not expect was for the story to leak. My Aunt Rebecca called me. All right, give me your side, she said, not one for mincing words. Your mother is walking around like you burned the house down. I read her the entire chat. I sent her the screenshots. She hummed. "Oh," she said finally. "Oh yeah, no. Yeah, that is not great." "What part?" I asked. "The part where they act like you gave them no warning," she said. "You were crystal clear. And your sisters, those are the rules thing." She clicked her tongue. "You want to be the hostess but not do the heavy lifting. That is not hosting. That is directing." I did not ask her to intervene, but in my family, word gets around. Christmas planning rolled around as it always does. Normally by early December, the group chat would be buzzing with logistics. This time it was quiet. Finally, Mom sent, "We are having a simple Christmas at home this year. All are welcome. Let us know if you can make it. No assigned tasks. No elaborate rules. No passive aggression. Just all are welcome." I waited a day. Then I replied, "I am working Christmas Eve and part of Christmas Day. I am free for a short visit on the afternoon of the 26th. Happy to bring a dessert from the bakery." This time no one said, "Only homemade." When I arrived on the 26th with a chocolate cake from a local restaurant, the atmosphere was delicate. Mom fiddled with coffee cups. Dad made small talk about football. Alyssa was quieter than usual, rearranging wrapping paper and making sure everyone saw the kids were in matching pajamas. At one point, she pulled me aside in the hallway. "You really hurt me," she said, her arms crossed. The kids did not understand why their aunt was not there. They kept asking. "I am sorry they were disappointed," I said. "Did you tell them the truth?" She frowned. "That you refused to bring the turkey?" "No, I do not think that would help. That I refused to do a dangerous amount of work on top of my job. I said I offered to pay for a turkey. You said no. That is the truth." She rolled her eyes. "You are always so literal." "I am a doctor," I said. "Literal keeps people alive." She huffed. "You could have just tried harder." "I am already trying very hard," I said. "I am not going to set myself on fire to keep your Thanksgiving warm. If hosting matters that much to you, then you need to actually host. That includes cooking or adjusting your expectations." For a second, I thought she was going to yell. Instead, she just shook her head and said, "You have changed," as if it were the worst thing she could think of. "Yes," I said. "I had to." Over the next few months, the temperature settled to a low-contact simmer. I still answered calls about serious medical issues, Dad's questions about medication, Mom's worry about a mole. But I stopped responding to every text with quick questions about minor aches and pains. I started saying, "That is something you should ask your doctor at your next appointment." When they asked me to look over Alyssa's new budget because they were thinking of helping her upgrade her minivan, I told them, "You should really talk to a financial advisor." Hen Mom tried to rope me into organizing a big Easter brunch. I said, "I can be there for 2 hours and bring coffee. That is it." At work, my life was still hectic, but a subtle weight had been lifted. I was not squeezing Costco runs for elaborate side dishes into my already overcrammed schedule. I was using my rare days off to actually rest or see friends instead of playing family project manager. This most recent Thanksgiving, Mom sent a message. "We are keeping it simple this year. A small turkey. Just us. You are welcome if you are free." I checked my schedule. I was on call Thursday but had Friday off. I wrote back, "I will be at Oliver's again with some coworkers. I might be able to stop by for dessert in the evening if it is quiet." She replied, "We would like that." No mention of rules. No assignments. When I stopped by for an hour, there was a turkey on the table. It was a little dry, the gravy a little lumpy. Alyssa admitted she had watched a YouTube video the night before and got confused about when to take it out. "It is fine," Mom said, spooning more onto everyone's plates. "We are just happy to be together." No one mentioned last year. Not directly. But when Mom tried to send me home with half the leftovers, "Since you are all alone," I smiled and said, "Just a couple of containers, please. I have got my meal prep for the week all set." Dad snorted and shook his head, but with a slight, grudging smile. The thing is, I did not sabotage Thanksgiving. I did not scheme or plot. I did not set anyone up to fail. I told them what I could realistically do. I offered a compromise, and I held my boundary when they rejected it. They decided that aesthetics and rules mattered more than reality, and the natural consequence was an empty space where a turkey should have been. My life now is quieter in ways that do not look dramatic from the outside. I still work long hours under fluorescent lights. I still listen to heartbeats and reassure people and sign way too many forms. But my free time is my own. I spend it cooking simple meals for myself, meeting friends for coffee, and occasionally sleeping in without my phone buzzing with a, "Can you just?" from my family. I still see my parents, still send my nephews birthday gifts. I sometimes text Alyssa about neutral topics, the kids' school projects, a funny meme. But I no longer offer myself up as tribute every time someone says "we need" and looks at me. If there is a lesson here, it is not that you should blow up a holiday to prove a point. It is that when you stop quietly filling the gaps that other people create, they will experience the absence as an emergency. They will say you have changed when really all you did was step back and let their own choices stand on their own. I did not destroy anyone's tradition. I just stopped subsidizing their refusal to plan. And when the main course did not show up, the universe was just doing the math. Comment. What stands out most here is the quiet strength it takes to finally honor your limits. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is simply to say what you can do and what you cannot. This is not about punishing others but about protecting your peace. We cannot control how others will respond, but we are responsible for upholding our well-being. Real love does not demand that you set yourself on fire to keep others warm. When someone tells you that you have changed, remember that it can be a sign you have finally started choosing yourself first. True healing often begins with small, consistent choices that respect your time and energy. You can hold your ground with grace and still be a loving, compassionate person. I hope this story reminds you that your peace is worth protecting, even when it feels uncomfortable at first. Your capacity to give to others grows when you are not running on empty. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.